This is Barbara Roscoe Morelli. Most of you know me. I'm the founder and president of the Joseph James Morelli Legacy Foundation. Thank you so much for coming to our annual meeting. And I want to call and do a shout out for Ricky Case, who helped put this webinar together, sent out all the emails, and is managing the slides and the agenda. So with that, we will kick off the meeting. Some housekeeping. I want to let you know that this is a webinar. It's not a Zoom meeting. That's why you're all muted. We will have a question and answer session at the end. So please do submit. If you look at the bottom, you'll see there's a Q&A box, and everyone that's on this call can go ahead and enter questions as they arise. So welcome to everyone in the agenda. I'm going to be kicking off with some of our student thank yous, and then we're going to move to the election of directors, officers, committees, a financial review, scholarship review, our outlook for 2021, and then finally talking about a new committee that was recently formed and only 2 months old, but has already accomplished quite a bit. And then we will have 2 student testimonials at the end. Next slide. So the student thank yous. I always like to start our annual board meetings or even our board meetings with notes that I get. We hear from all our students, notes, thank yous, emails. The first one I'm going to read is from Matt McCool, and he was a 2-time awardee. He actually is a recent graduate, and he's also one of our mentors. So Matt McCool wrote to me back in October and said, I wanted to reach out and say thank you to the Joseph James Morelli Legacy Foundation for believing in me and helping to support me these past 2 years. When I began my path in higher education, the idea that my dyslexia would keep me from achieving my goals was always at the back of my mind. The idea of long hours, reading textbooks, and taking timed composition exams seemed like a roadblock. Hearing Joseph's story helped me feel that I was not alone in fighting my learning disability, and getting accommodations allowed me to overcome the hurdles that dyslexia put in my way. With the scholarship from the Joseph's Foundation, I was awarded in 2018 and 2019. I was able to buy adaptive technologies, helped to overcome the added burden dyslexia caused. I earned my bachelor's degree in aerospace engineering, cum laude, in May 2020, and landed an engineering job at a respected aircraft manufacturer. I just want to say thanks, not just for the scholarship, but for showing me that there are other people like me. The next letter is from Cole Arthur. He's one of our first year awardees. He's at Montana State, and he also sent me a letter back in July. And he said, Dear Mrs. Morelli and the scholarship community, I am honored to be selected to receive the scholarship dedicated to your son. I was so excited to hear about the award. It was a bright spot in the complicated spring of 2020 with COVID. I am a 2020 graduate of Charles M. Russell High School in Great Falls. I will be getting my mechanical engineering undergraduate degree at Montana State University in Bozeman in the Honors College. The engineering department has offered me an opportunity to get involved with undergraduate research immediately. I am very eager to start. I will be getting some combination of an aerospace engineering and mechanical engineering degree. Because of your generosity, it is likely that I will be able to go on to pursue my master's degree since I am saving money. After graduation, I intend to go to work for a large aerospace company such as SpaceX or Lockheed Martin. And it's just so cool to see their dreams. That's my verbiage. He continues, I cannot thank you enough for your financial support. This recognition has been so encouraging. On behalf of myself and other students you have helped with your scholarship, thank you for all you do to help build the future. Next slide. The next 2 are going to be much shorter. Ethan Larson is also one of our first awardees, and he sent me a little card in the summer, and he said, thank you so much for the money. It is being put to great use, and it means so much to me that you recognize all my hard work. Thank you. And then finally, Emma House has been in touch with us repeatedly over the last 2 years. She's a second-year student now at the University of Cincinnati. And she writes, to the Scholarship Committee and Mrs. Morelli, I wanted to sincerely thank you for awarding me the scholarship funds for my second year of college. I had a wonderful and successful first year. I spent this crazy COVID summer working at Starbucks and taking 3 classes to help me to be able to concentrate my efforts on architecture and sustainability in coursework. My programs are very intense, so I wanted to get some of the yucky electives out of the way in the summer. I'm really looking forward to my second semester when I get to do a co-op experience. Hands-on learning is where I excel. Thank you again. I hope to honor the memory of your son. Thank you. Next slide. So at this point, I want to thank all the board of director members who have been with us really from the start of this. And before I introduce our legal counsel, Bob Mercer, I do want to recognize Tom Abate and thank him for his position on the board and his time, resources, as he's helped us with the financial plans and the investment strategy. And I would also like to take the opportunity to welcome Ann Ivanhoe, who with this meeting will be joining us officially as a board of director member. So with that, I'll turn it over to Bob. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Barbara. Good evening, everyone. The Joseph James Morelli Legacy Foundation was formed as a Utah nonprofit corporation in 2019. One of the requirements is that we have an annual meeting, and this is the annual meeting. So I'm going to hopefully be pretty brief and take care of the business part of this. The foundation was granted nonprofit status by the Internal Revenue Service a couple of years ago. We are a 501c3 public foundation. As you all know, the foundation was created to honor Joseph's memory and to grant scholarships. That is the mission and the primary purpose of the foundation. There is also very much a business component of the foundation, and I can assure you that the board of directors takes that responsibility very, very seriously. We view ourselves as stewards of the money that we've been entrusted to spend to award these very deserving students. If you go to our website shortly, you will see all the policies that we have enacted. They range from a conflict of interest policy to a whistleblower policy to a document retention policy, all kinds of things that are good governance. Every single expenditure that is made, whether it's $20 for stamps or a few $1,000s for our software system, which runs our scholarship application process, is approved by the board of directors. So as I said, we take it extremely seriously. The business part today is to elect 3 directors to a 2-year term. All of our directors are elected for staggering terms. Some are 2-year terms, some are 3-year terms, and all were elected 2 years ago. So those of us who have 2-year terms are up for re-election. That's Eveline Babich, Ann Ivanhoe, our newest member, and myself. So those are the directors who are being elected this evening. Next slide, please. These are the officers of the foundation. All of them are members of the board of directors. I also would suggest that you again take a look at our website and take a look at the backgrounds for all of our directors and even our committee members. This is a group of people with outstanding business experience and experience in all sorts of areas, including education and healthcare. I have the privilege of serving as the chairman of the nominating and governance committee of a NASDAQ listed company, and I can assure you that any public company would be thrilled to have the depth of experience and knowledge that our board has. So please take a look, and I think you'll be similarly impressed by the wealth of experience and knowledge that has been brought to the foundation. Next slide, please. We have also set up committees to take care of some of the specific areas. One is the finance committee. I can tell you that two of the members of the Finance Committee are former chief financial officers for major international corporations. So that again gives you another idea as to the experience that we have. The Finance Committee also handles the investments. As Kay will tell you in a few minutes, we have quite a bit of cash that needs to be invested in. The Finance Committee are the stewards of that responsibility. Next slide, please. We have two committees that engage in the real work of the foundation. As I said, our mission is to award scholarships to deserving individuals. This is the Scholarship Review Committee. We have, again, a wealth of experience on this committee, especially in the area of education, and specifically education of young men and women with learning challenges. So, excuse me, again, Marcy will in a few minutes describe the work of this committee, and their members work very, very hard, especially starting in about 2 weeks when the scholarship applications are finished, and going all the way through the awarding process. One more slide, please. This is a new committee. What we found over the course of the years that the foundation has been in existence is that there are some challenges for our awardees once they start college. Those of you who have children who have gone to college know that the transition from high school to college is challenging, even if you don't have learning challenges. And obviously, the students that we have learning challenges, and that transition has been especially challenging. Again, this is a committee made of experts in the area, led by Barbara and Ann Ivanhoe, who are going to focus on helping ease that transition. With that, it's my pleasure to turn it over to our treasurer, Kay Priestley.
Thank you, Bob. Today, I'd like to share with you financial information for the foundation, and also information on our donations, which make it possible for us to support students like the ones you just heard from when Barbara read those thank you notes. Our financial statements are audited by the CPA firm of Cooper Savas, and they're prepared under generally accepted accounting principles, or GAAP, as we refer to it. This slide presents the foundation's statement of financial position for both 2020 and 2019. As you can see, and Bob mentioned it earlier, we have over $236,000 in net assets as of December 31, 2020. The scholarship fund was established originally in 2014 and administered by the Park City Community Foundation. And during those years, the fund balance had accumulated. We continued to have successful fundraising, and the number and dollar amount of scholarships have increased every year as a result of this. However, in addition to providing funds for new students each year, our goal is to continue to support prior year awardees through to their graduation, which vary and can be 4 to 5 years. We've therefore set aside funds to enable us to continue to support these awardees also, not just our new awardees, recipients each year. Our board, getting back to the investment point that Bob raised, our board has decided to invest the funds over and above our current needs in low-risk investments. In 2019, we invested in a certificate of deposit and money market accounts. But because of declining interest rates, the Finance Committee reviewed options in 2020 and made a recommendation to the board, which was approved, to invest $200,000 in the highest quality bonds that mature within 1 to 3 years. And we can withdraw these funds at any time without a penalty. Next slide. The statement of activity shown here presents revenue and expenses for 2020 and 2019. There are 2 things I want to highlight on this schedule. First is the comparison of revenues between the 2 years, and second is the reporting of our expenses. Prior to the foundation receiving its 501c3 status in July of 2019, the activities were carried out by the Park City Community Foundation, which was administering the Joseph James Morelli Scholarship Fund. After July, the scholarship fund was terminated, and the fund balance in that account was transferred from the PCCF to our foundation. As you can see in this schedule, over $300,000 was received by the foundation in contributions in 2019. This amount includes contributions received in 2019 by both the Park City Community Foundation, administering the scholarship fund, and our foundation. It also includes the fund balance that was transferred from the PCCF. Nonprofits have special reporting requirements under GAAP. On our audited financials, as well as our Form 990, which we file with the IRS, we are required to allocate expenses to three categories: program services, fundraising expenses, and management in general. We're very proud that in 2020, 90% of our total expenses are attributable to our program services. Program services include both our scholarship program and our mentorship program in 2020. This is a new program you'll hear more about later from Anne, and Marcy will be next highlighting our scholarship program. Nonprofits are also required to show donations without donor restrictions and with donor restrictions. I'll provide more detail on this and our donations on the next schedule. Next. This slide presents donations received for the 2 years. For comparison purposes, we're including amounts raised by both the foundation and the PCCF in 2019, and excluding from this the fund balance that I discussed earlier that was transferred from the PCCF. We want to recognize and thank our donors. The Sorensen Legacy Foundation has been a wonderful supporter of our cause and has donated $70,000 in total over the last 3 years for scholarships and $7,500 in 2020 for mentoring. The funds we received from Sorensen were designated specifically for Utah students, and therefore, those are the funds that were classified as with donor restrictions on our financial statements. Bino Solomon has been a major contributor and has contributed $30,000 over 2 years. And the Promontory Foundation has granted $11,500 over the last 3 years. These major contributions have allowed us to expand our programs. Last year, we had a very successful fundraising year, even with the complications of COVID. We had a tremendous volunteer effort for the Live PC, Give PC event. And this was led by Eveline Babbage and Ricky Case, and we were fortunate to have many volunteers helping us in that event. As you can see, we raised almost $47,000 in 2020, over $10,000 more than we raised in 2019. Our total contributions in 2020 resulted in close to $116,000, with gifts ranging from $10 to $25,000. We had 431 donors last year. And this tells us that our message is appealing to so many people. We receive our donations via checks, PayPal, Mighty Cause, which is the electronic transfer program Live PC, Give PC uses. And we also receive amounts from Amazon Smile. I thought I'd mention that Amazon allows buyers to designate a charity of their choice in their settings, and Amazon donates 0.5% of the purchase to the charity you choose. And there's no added costs on the item you purchase. We want to thank the donors listed above, and as well as all of you and the many contributors and volunteers who make it possible for the foundation to support and recognize our students. This financial support also allows us to expand our services to support our student community, which continues to grow. Next slide. On this slide, we wanted to share with you the foundation's commitment to transparency, not just financial transparency, but focusing on qualitative information as well as the progress we're making. We are very pleased that we've achieved the highest seal of transparency, the platinum level from GuideStar. GuideStar is an organization that presents unbiased information on nonprofits. If you go to the GuideStar website, which is shown here, and enter Joseph James Morelli Legacy Foundation, you will see the information we provided. Our audited financials and Form 990 are included, as well as specific information on our programs, results, and strategies. We're also in the process of keeping our website up to date and updating it with our governance policies, our audited financial statements, and our Form 990. Our goal is to make available all the critical data about our organization so there's full transparency. We want all of our stakeholders, our donors, our volunteers, educators, and our student community to have access to how we are achieving our mission of honoring Joseph's spirit by supporting students with dyslexia and empowering them to believe in themselves. I'll now turn it over to Marcy, our Scholarship Committee Chair.
Thank you, Kay. Can you hear me? Okay. Scholarships are at the heart of our foundation. As you heard Barbara reading those wonderful thank you notes. We are a committee of 10 volunteers, plus Ricky Case, our program manager. Most of the students interact with our program manager. It's a very rewarding volunteer position, but it's also a very emotional volunteer position. We are made up of academicians. We have a dean of engineering. We have an AP physics teacher. We are also made up of clinicians. We have 2 MDs and a special ed academician, as well as family friends. I personally fall into that category. We started 7 years ago, and about half of us are actually still on the Scholarship Review Committee. Next slide, please. First, I'm going to tell you about last year, and then we'll move into expectations for 2021. Last year, we had 238 students apply. They were high school students and they were college students. We awarded a total of 46 scholarships. 28 of those were new students, meaning that they were applying for the first time. They could have been from high school or they could have been from college. And 18 of them were repeat students, which means that they had received a scholarship in the past. We have a very good relationship with our repeat students. We get to know them very well. Some of them have been with us 2, 3, and 4 years. Also, our students tend to find us through the internet. About half of them find us through scholarship.com, and the other half find us through a mix of other websites as well as their school counselors. We awarded 13 scholarships to Utah students and 3 scholarships to Montana State students. Many of you know Joseph attended Montana State University. Of our 46 awardees, we represented 23 states. Last year, we awarded $78,000, and the scholarships range anything from $500 to $2,500. Sometimes, as an exception, we're even higher than $2,500. Next slide, please. For this year, we are always trying to accomplish 2 things. One is to get closer to Joseph's spirit, and the other is to improve our processes. So I would like to talk you through 5 changes that we have implemented for this year. Our students who apply need to meet 2 eligibility criteria. One is academic and the other is clinical. In terms of the academic, they need to be studying STEM, science, technology, engineering, or math. The other criteria, which is clinical, for 2021 is dyslexia only. When we started, it was actually all learning disabilities. And we have continued to narrow it to get closer to Joseph's spirit as time has gone on. I don't recall if I've mentioned, but we're actually in our 7th year of awarding scholarships. So our eligibility criteria for 2021 is STEM as well as dyslexia only. For 2021, we acknowledge that the students have struggled with the COVID environment. We know that this has upended their traditional learning. And, we just say that we recognize that they have needed to adapt to that. We ask our students to answer 5 essay questions. We changed the essay or narrative questions for the repeat applicants. And the reason was to identify potential students for the mentoring program, which you will be hearing more about from Anne. We asked the repeat students to focus more on their goals and their strategies to understand their skill set for meeting those requirements. In addition to application changes, we also made some process changes. We expanded the role of the review committee because all 10 of our reviewers said, we want to help more. We are willing to contribute more of our time. It takes about 20 to 30 minutes to actually read an application from the student. We also made some changes to our rigorous review steps. For instance, our physics teacher is now reviewing all of the students' declared majors to ensure that we have STEM compliance. For this year, we plan to distribute $90,000, which is a 20% increase over last year. But as previously mentioned, what the students tell us is, we really appreciate the scholarship monies, but we also really love that you get us and that you acknowledge us in our struggles. Next slide, please. So for 2021, where do we stand? Applications opened at the beginning of the year. We give the students 11 weeks to complete an online application. We are currently in week 8 of that 11 weeks. And as any of you who have young adults as children know, the last week is when we exponentially see all of our numbers explode. We can get as many as half of our applications in that last week. Mid-March, we're going to commence into a very rigorous review activity. It's complex. We do a lot of data management. Ricky Case organizes the whole process for us. And basically, we narrow our pool of applicants. Last year, we had 238. This year, I expect we'll exceed that. We narrow that pool of applicants down to some finalists. It's very labor intensive. As I mentioned, we spend maybe 20 to 30 minutes reading the applications. We ask the students whether they are new students applying for the first time or repeat students who have received a scholarship in the past. We ask them to answer 5 questions. In addition, they have to upload 3 documents. The 3 documents are their transcripts, their documentation of their disability, which for 2021 will be dyslexia only, as well as a letter of reference. As the reviewers are reading all of this documentation, we are narrowing our pool of applicants. And our very last step is that the 10 reviewers read all of the semifinalist applications, and we meet mid-May for consensus, and we determine our finalists. It is a very intensive process. It takes 9 weeks. It requires a big commitment on the time of the reviewers who volunteer. And then lastly, our program manager notifies all of the recipients by the end of May as to their award status. As of yesterday, you can see our numbers. We had 143 applications in process, 50 completed. 19 of them were return students. That's actually more than last year. So we know our outreach efforts, which you're going to hear more about, are working. We had 7 from Utah and 2 attended Montana State University. So we feel at this time that we're in a very solid position. We're expecting another rewarding and successful season. And with that, I'd like to reintroduce Barbara.
Thank you, Marcy. Thank you, Kay. Thank you, Bob. Next slide. So in terms of our outlook for 2021, some of you know that we do a newsletter every June, July, and this is after we select our applicants and awardees. We also, for 2021, because of COVID, we are now investing in this webinar capability. And we really think this is a great opportunity, not only for us to meet with you and others virtually anywhere, literally in the country or the world, but also for our students and our awardees to meet with one another. We most likely will have our thank you event again this August, but it'll be virtual. And then the other thing too, as far as an outlook for 2021, one of the things that we've heard repeatedly, and this is the reason for the outreach committee and support committee, is that COVID is a challenge, and it really has been a challenge for all students. And as Bob alluded to before, especially our awardees. There are challenges with access to professors. Disability offices are closed. There's little one-on-one interaction. Students don't have access to one another, yet alone to, TAs, resource rooms, things that we all probably took for granted. And unfortunately, we have been getting checks coming back because our awardees are not returning in the spring to the college that they had selected. Because again, one of the things we do is the majority of the scholarships go directly to the college, and the student has to matriculate and actually attend school for that check to be cashed. So those checks are coming back. And to us, that's a loss. Once we bring a student into our community, into our foundation, we will continue to support that student. And as Marcy mentioned, although we've narrowed our criteria for the scholarship moving forward, anybody who has been awarded in the last 7 years can get a scholarship again. We want to keep supporting these students, and there are gaps. We'll hear from a student, we'll award them, they'll go missing for a year, and then they'll come back and they'll tell us, oh, I felt like I let you down. I wasn't able to get the grades I thought, or I couldn't stay at that college. I had to go to a community college. It doesn't matter. We want to hear from those students and we want to support them. Next slide. So we set together the Student Outreach and Support Committee. And really the problem we are trying to solve is that we want to empower our students, our awardees, to succeed in school, graduate, and have a meaningful career, whatever that looks like. And again, because Joseph was in a STEM career, we chose to honor his spirit by awarding students who are moving forward in STEM. This is our committee. Marcy, Eveline, Nicole Blumen is part of Bright Futures here in Park City. Charlie Matthews has worked with STEM students for years as an AP Physics. Donnell Pons is actually a dyslexia tutor and consultant. Next slide. So what do we really want to accomplish? Well, one of the first things we did is we said, wow, we need to, do an outreach. So Charlie actually headed this up, and we sent flyers to probably about 400 high school counselors and universities to let them know about what we're doing. Through our ties with Reading Horizon, and Tyson Smith has been phenomenal, and Donnell, we now offer to our awardees the capabilities to have a tutoring reading through Reading Horizons. It's a reading-based tutoring system that's computer-based. They will get access to log on and use this tutoring system. So that's new this year. We also did an applicant outreach. We really go out and look for applicants, and again, past awardees, and let them know to consider applying again. We also heard that our students really like speaking to one another, and they miss that one-on-one contact. When we had our thank you event, our local students would meet each other, and I think it was very, very meaningful for them. So we're going to do a Facebook private page where they can actually interact, ask questions, and support each other. And then that really led to the mentoring initiative. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ann Ivanhoe, who has really done an amazing job with this the last few months. And again, this was possible due to the support of the Sorensen Legacy Foundation and Bino Solomon.
Thanks, Barb. The objective of the mentoring program is to have peer mentors help scholarship recipients believe in themselves and realize their potential by discovering their superpowers. By superpowers, we mean assets they may have that they can use to overcome challenges. They can be qualities like an outgoing personality that helps them talk to professors and get the accommodations they need to help them learn. For students with ADHD, a common comorbidity to dyslexia, it could be the ability to hyperfocus. Those superpowers vary from student to student. Our mentors help their mentees identify theirs and use them to their advantage. We did not coin the term superpowers. It comes from our partner in the mentoring program, Jake Sussman, CEO of Superpower Consulting, a peer mentoring program for students with dyslexia and ADHD. Jake grew up with the same challenges as many of our scholarship recipients, so he's an extraordinary asset. He gets them in a way few others can, and he trains our mentors to do the same. As a quick aside here, CEO in Jake's case means Chief Empowerment Officer, which I think is an important title for him. In terms of pairings for the spring semester, we have 2 pairs of mentor-mentee students returning from last semester or have returned, and 3 new pairs, and all is going well, particularly given the challenge of remote learning, which seems to be a recurring theme. Remote learning is challenging for many, if not most students, but for our students, it's particularly hard. It inhibits their ability to get accommodations like readers or to meet their professors, the whole host of obstacles. And it leaves them without the structure they so badly need. As one of our mentors put it, working in a Zoom format is really distracting when you see so many people doing different things. So it's suboptimal to say the least, but they are persevering. The fall semester results were very promising. Though we only had 2 mentor-mentee pairs, we developed and fielded a survey to measure the success of their mentoring experience so that we can start developing metrics. The key takeaway from our mentees was that they gained an improved understanding of the resources and support available to them through their schools and more importantly, they were using them. Academically, one of our students enjoyed the success of improving a full letter grade in math. And one of our mentees told us that she would like to be a mentor when she's an upperclassman. We see this as high praise. The survey also provided positive anecdotal feedback. In the open-ended questions we heard, quote, Riley found my strengths and weaknesses very fast and helped me find tools to be better in my weaker areas, unquote. The student went on to say, quote, the mentor training is great, unquote. To me, that's music to my ears. Another student said it was helpful to be able to talk to somebody who's faced similar struggles as me. That's another recurring theme, that these students need to feel that they're part of a community. They're not alone. There are many other students just like they are. Next slide, please. Lessons learned. We've learned a lot. I just mentioned community, that the Joseph James Morelli Legacy Foundation mentoring program creates a support system and a sense of community needed for the mentees, but we discovered that the mentors need community and support as well. Because this is a peer mentoring program and our mentors are either students or recent graduates, they need help also. To that end, Jake has instituted weekly meetings with the mentors where they can share their experiences and help each other. It gives them their own community, and community is integral to this process. We also learned that peer mentorship is a symbiotic relationship. We were delighted to discover that it's not a one-way street, and our mentors are not only teaching, but they're learning from their mentees. In the case of Jacob and Riley, Jacob, the mentee, who has an outgoing personality, has helped Riley, who's quite shy, come out of his shell. With Christian and Matt, Christian, an avid gamer, has helped his mentor, Matt, improve his strategies and performance on some of their favorite video games. And Jesse and Ashley have bonded over their commitment to improve the world, as well as their love of animals and the therapeutic value they can provide. We also recognize the need for explicit objective criteria for becoming mentors and mentees, and that those criteria be approved by the board of directors. This is important because so many students' stories tug at our heartstrings, and having explicit criteria will help us to facilitate rational rather than emotional decisions. It'll also limit what we should take on legally and therapeutically. This program is for peer mentorship, and we are not equipped to deal with students who have serious psychiatric issues. So as painful as it is to say no to such students, we have to do what we know we can do well. Next slide, please. Okay, the spring semester, we're very excited about the program thanks to improvements that we've made since last semester. One big change is that the mentors were trained in advance. Last semester, we had to wait for board approval before we could start the program. So we were already a month into the semester when the mentors were being trained. This time, Jake was able to train them in advance, so they were ready to hit the ground running with their mentees. We also had a Meet Your Mentor event created by Jake and Superpower Consulting that helped establish the mentor and mentee relationships and community. I really wish you all could have been there to see this Zoom event when they all met each other. It was so exciting, not only for them to meet and talk about their plans for working together, but for them to realize that they were all part of the Morelli Foundation community and that it was a safe place in which they could thrive. As Barb mentioned, we're launching a Facebook group. In the next few weeks, it'll be a private group that's open to all of our scholarship recipients, as well as our current mentors and mentees. The idea behind it is to provide all our students access to community, have an opportunity to hear solutions to their problems, maybe gain help with strategies and resources. Since we can't provide all of them with mentors, this is the next best thing. Next slide, please. Our challenge going forward is that we really want to offer mentorship opportunities to more Morelli Foundation college freshmen. However, our organization is set up for scholarships, so mentoring funds are limited. To expand, we'll need increased oversight and training from Superpower Consulting. Jake has been great about working with us to find economical solutions that'll enable us to include more students in the program. And as the program progresses, we'll have the ability to grow by having mentees become mentors. And the funding piece is one which we hope to tackle through grants and increased donations. Next, I'd like to introduce you to Ashley, a spring 2021 mentee who will share an email she wrote to Barbara Morelli recounting her journey with dyslexia and the extraordinary gratitude she feels to be part of our mentoring program. After Ashley, we'll hear from Michaelis, now a second semester mentor, who will briefly share what it's like to be a Morelli Foundation mentor. Ashley?
Hi and good evening, everyone. As mentioned, my name is Ashley Hood. I am a Joseph Morelli Scholarship Awardee for the year of 2020. I graduated high school last year. I am currently studying at Southern Utah University and getting my bachelor's in animal science. I would like to begin by sharing my backstory, as it plays a huge role in why I am grateful for the Joseph Morelli Foundation. My dyslexic journey is very unique compared to others. I was diagnosed as different and slower than the other kids in the second grade. After placing me in an intervention reading class during recess, I was fully diagnosed with dyslexia. However, after that intervention class, I received no further help from the education system. All my teachers, counselors, and specialists just told me I was different and would have to work twice as hard as all the other kids. So that's what I did. I made homework my life, school my life, and I never self-advocated for myself or my disability to my teachers or future friends because I was worried about already being labeled as different. This brought a lot of anxiety and self-esteem issues growing up. I would go to school, come home, and work on my homework to get caught up compared to the other kids after each day. This carried on from third grade to my high school years. Once I got to high school and wanted to be a part of more than just homework, like sports teams and student council, my schedule to do my homework led into the late hours of the night. It wasn't until my junior year of high school when my physics teacher, Mr. Bringhurst, noticed how I always looked so confused in class, but came back the next day knowing the material like the back of my hand. However, my grades on his tests were still slipping. He asked me one day, "Ashley, I don't mean to offend you, but is there something about your education that you're just not telling me?" His caring of my success helped me in more ways than he could imagine. I told him I was a dyslexic, and for the whole year, I was doing his assignments 5 to 6 times on my own on a whiteboard at home like I had always done to study, and this is how I knew the material. But I also told him that the reason my grades were slipping is because I couldn't finish his test in the time allotted. Because the font and font size he chose made the test physically unreadable for me. He then told me he was very impressed with my dedication to my school for all these years. Then he asked me why I didn't have a 504 or an IEP. My response was simple: have a what? I thought I blew his mind. He was so shocked that as a junior, having been diagnosed for 9 to 10 years, I had never heard of a 504 or an IEP, or any other resources for that matter that could have actually helped me. After that day, my counselors and teachers made me top priority to get me the documentation, but most importantly, the help I always knew I needed but didn't know was out there. With Mr. Bringhurst's help and my counselors, after 11 years of trying to figure out how I learned, we together found ways that helped me learn and gain success. I finally understood and found the meaning behind working smarter and not harder. So the reason I am grateful for the Morelli Foundation and this new and exciting mentoring program is because it is the help I have always been looking for, but never thought was actually possible. This program shows me that I am not alone in my dyslexia like I had felt my entire education. It also shows me the success I can have even with my disability. At the beginning Zoom call, as mentioned, I saw the success that the mentors had and that they will help me achieve that same success. I am excited to talk with my mentor who has similar struggles as I do. The key word is similar. In my backstory, everyone just told me I was different, as if I was the only one struggling with this, and that since I was different, no one would understand or see words, spelling, and hated reading the way I did. It was super discouraging for a second grader to hear, let alone change my thoughts on my ability to further my education. Now with this program, I am not alone. I am one of many unique and resilient students who can do education, who can read, and who can make a difference despite our disabilities. Through my journey in my junior year, learning there is power and strength in the number of people working with you is one reason I am so excited about this mentoring opportunity. Knowing you have people supporting you, willing to work with you, and not putting you aside because you are different is one of the greatest gifts you can give a person. This is what makes an impact. I am so grateful for the awareness efforts you all are making to bring these disabilities into a light of awareness rather than discouraging and diminishing like the rest of the world. I am sure I'm not the only one who is unaware of the resources that are made for students like me that actually help me. What this foundation is doing isn't just giving us someone to talk to about our struggles or to get advice from each other. It is about giving us a sense of belonging to a group that understands, motivates, and empowers one another. So thank you. Thank you for changing my life, changing my perspective to a positive outlook on my uniqueness, rather than looking at it as a disability or a limitation. I hope I was able to convey my story, my growth, and my gratitude for Barbara, the foundation, the mentoring program, donors, sponsors, and all who may be involved. But most of all, my gratitude for the memory and impact of Joseph. It is because of Joseph that I am learning each and every day, like many students are, that resources are available and that success is possible. But I cannot do it alone. And it is because of Joseph that I will no longer feel or have to do it alone. Thank you.
Wow, Ashley, thank you. Thank you for sharing your story. Okay, Ashley, thank you. And the next student we're going to hear from is Michaelis.
Hello, everyone. That was really great. That was a great speech. Thank you so much. So hi, yeah, I'm Michaelis. First, I just want to say thank you to Barbara and the Joseph James Morelli Legacy Foundation, and Jake Sussman and all the great parents out there. You all are my greatest supporters in life. So thanks for having me tonight. Yeah, I'm here at the University of Utah and I study mechanical engineering. And I just want to talk about what it means to me, just being a mentor, and kind of just reflect on a little bit just past 4 years. But being a mentor feels like, I'm giving back to my own younger self, and really all I feel like I'm doing is being that friend that I wish I had to be by my side. In high school, getting accommodations was more organized, and there were people there to designate to kind of like help you and to give you the outline of what's in your control. And as a freshman in college, when I was entering, I wish, I had not felt like the only student in STEM with a learning challenge. I wish I could kind of have a better understanding of the system when coming into college and, help getting accommodations. Even though I had the accommodations in place, I really didn't receive my full accommodations. And I had to figure out how to do it on my own and learned how important it is to stand up for yourself. The process was just too much. And I learned the hard way by either having great professors who'd go out of their way to help me and make sure my accommodations are in place, or other professors comparing me to the average student saying, some of my accommodations are unnecessary. It was really hard to deal with these things without my mom and Barbara, and to really push me to be loud and fight for my rights. And so, I just, as a mentor, I've been able to help my mentee, Lynn, with things to try, which is, we've tried, how to speak up and not be shy about your, cognitive challenge, and, where and how to meet with the disabilities advisor and major advisor, and to always see what course load fits best and what accommodations are offered. I have to really look deeper into those things. And, meeting with a professor personally 2 weeks before the semester begins gives us, a better look over the syllabus to set accommodations, so that when school is in action, no one is stressed, and we can use that time to ask our more important questions about course material instead of, hey, just checking in to make sure I have my accommodations for my final in 5 days. We're really more prepared. The professor's not stressed, students not stressed. Whereas me in the past, I found, I come into this and everyone's stressed out. It's just all under me with the department. And so, being a mentor is just great. And so asking, like these specific questions, are really important. Like, now with Zoom, we have to ask for a separate breakout room, make sure that there's extensions in all exams. So, that includes quizzes too. Like, you can't just not let that slide. Like, you got to get your accommodations. And so, there's some things mentors do that advisors can't. Advisors may have hundreds of students, and, like I said, the department is undermined with support. They're trying to do the best they can, but they just have so many students. And, it takes somebody that has gone through this to kind of explain, how and when to approach a professor appropriately without causing them, or yourself, any sort of, disalignment for the semester. Because, some professors have 300 students in that first week of school. They don't tell you, hey, like, you should probably meet with them a week before and figure out the syllabus, before all these, students are in class and they're asking, millions of questions right away. And the professor's like, oh man, what do I do? These are my office hours. And you're like, man, I really need to get my accommodations. And so we give that one-on-one advice in which, takes experience and storytelling that nowhere really else on campus is offered. We provide someone that you can relate to and like really know how college is. Like, you have to really have a real story for them to look up to and not look down on, because, at this time, especially with this transition, we see different things, and, getting out of our comfort zone and reaching out to our friends who may be in the same class, just like these little things can help us succeed. And so, in helping Lynn, I'm also helping myself, because I realize how to do things better. I really have found that, everything's a transition and we have to adapt to change. And, remote learning is just very challenging right now. And so it really takes somebody that's, right now, especially with everything online, it's hard to just find that. You can't just walk into the department, you got to call them. It's just having somebody there to relate to. I think it's just, one professor has like this great thing called Gather Town. I use that over Zoom. And I think like, it's just really interesting. But yeah, it's amazing being a mentor. I think this semester has been great. It definitely has helped me. And I think that, this foundation is going great places. And I'm really happy to see everyone working together and relating more and more, because, coming in as 17-year-old, I just didn't know what to do. And if it wasn't for Barbara and, these great supporters of the foundation and, these awesome moms, I don't know what I would do. I really didn't have any guidance. It was for me to figure out on my own. And, we have plenty of stories and experiences where school's been rough. And so I'm just glad that now we can really help each other and make sure students succeed in STEM with, cognitive challenges. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Michaelis. Thank you so much. And Michaelis actually is going on, I think, his 4th or 5th year with us, and is in mechanical engineering. And I've gotten to know Michaelis actually quite well over the years. So it's just been a tremendous pleasure for us to come in, to continue to support you. And thank you for giving back to our junior mentees, our newer applicants. So with that, I did not notice, I didn't see any questions in our question and answer. We are recording this, so we will put it up on our website for anybody that would like to listen. If you know of anyone that would be interested in learning more about our organization and listening to this could be very helpful for them, please do pass this along. But thank you again for making this foundation possible. And thank you so much to my board members, my volunteers, the review committee, Ricky for organizing this, and of course for Ashley and Michaelis for just being such tremendous students that we are just so fortunate that we can help you and support you. And we've got your back. We want to see you guys succeed along with all our awardees. So with that, I will conclude. And thank you very, very much for spending the evening with us.